Lucy has only two vivid memories from her childhood. The first one is when the father told her that life doesn't always go as planned. The second one is when the father took her to the church where he and her mother had once been married. Lucy barely remembered her mother. In the present, grown-up Lucy works as a ticket taker on a Chicago train. Every day she sees in the window of the ticket booth a handsome man, with whom she fell in love at first sight. Lucy has never spoken to him and doesn't even know his name, but that doesn't stop her from dreaming of marrying him. Christmas is approaching. Lucy, who lives alone, tried to lift a Christmas tree through the window, but the rope slipped from her hands. The window broke. The apartment owner Joe didn't charge Lucy for the damage because his brother runs a glass business. He had always been kind to Lucy, just as she had been to him. Joe has an unmarried son who lives with him. Joe thinks that Lucy and his son would make a good couple, but Lucy pretended not to understand the hint. Jerry, Lucy's boss, wants to make her the best employee of the month as long as she works on Christmas as usual. Lucy wanted to refuse, but she is the only one in the team without a family. At home, Lucy decorated the Christmas tree, and the next day she went to work. When that handsome man wished her a Merry Christmas, she lost her ability to speak. This was her chance to meet him, but Lucy never dared. Suddenly she saw hooligans attacking the man on the platform, and he fell onto the tracks. Lucy rushed to his aid. The man lay unconscious. Lucy tried to bring him to his senses in a panic, but in vain. Seeing a train coming, Lucy managed to pull the man off the tracks at the last moment. At that second, he woke up for a few seconds. The man was urgently hospitalized. Lucy arrived at the hospital, but the doctor refused to let her see the patient because she was not a relative. Thinking that Lucy was the man's fiancée, a nurse secretly took her to the room. Even a police officer was convinced that the woman who saved the man was his future wife. Suddenly Peter's entire family burst into the ward. As it turned out, the man's name was Peter, and he was in a coma. His relatives were very worried about him. Furthermore, they were now convinced that Lucy was Peter's fiancée. Lucy couldn't find the strength to object. When Peter's relatives found out that she had saved his life, they immediately treated her as a member of the family. Peter's mother embraced her in tears. Later, Lucy confessed to the nurse that she wasn't really Peter's fiancée. But now she's afraid to tell the truth because it might cause a heart attack for Midge. Peter's family is curious about how they met. Confused Lucy said it was love at first sight. When Lucy was heading home, Joe Jr., the landlord's son, asked her out, but Lucy wasn't interested. Now she constantly comes to Peter's ward and just admires him. The man of her dreams is closer than ever. Lucy talks to Peter, even though he can't hear her. Lucy says that she is upset by her own lies, but it is too late to back down. Lucy also admitted that she has felt lonely for a long time. She has no one except her cat. But Lucy feels a kindred soul in Peter and believes that they are destined to be together. Lucy doesn't know that someone was eavesdropping. She didn't notice when she fell asleep right in the ward. In the morning, Peter's whole family is here again. They were impressed that the fiancé had stayed with him all night. Peter's father, Ox, invited Lucy to celebrate Christmas with them. She was confused and said she couldn't because of work, but Ox insisted. The orderly, believing that Lucy is Peter's fiancée, handed her a box of his belongings. A colleague of Peter's also approached her and spoke incessantly. Lucy shared with Jerry what had happened. Her lie had gone too far, so it's too late to back out. Jerry also believes that Lucy shouldn't tell them the truth. At home as usual, no one's expecting Lucy except her cat. After some hesitation, she eventually went to the luxurious Callahan house. Peter's godfather, Saul, told that in this house, everyone loves and supports each other. Lucy in turn shared that her mother had passed away a long time ago, and her father also passed away a year ago due to an incurable illness. So Lucy was left all alone. Saul understands Lucy's feelings very well because he lost his wife a year ago. The Callahans welcomed him into their family, and he hopes that Lucy will soon become a part of it too. Midge invited them into the house. Everyone hugged Lucy and was thrilled that she had come. Lucy, who felt very awkward, was even captured in family photos. For Lucy, it was the best Christmas. Her heart felt warm. Since the parents' passing, she had never experienced anything like that until tonight. Meanwhile, Ashley Bacon, Peter's actual fiancée, left him a voicemail message. She has no idea that Peter is in the hospital and wants to get married to him as soon as possible. Jack, Peter's brother, was late to the party. Upon learning that Peter's fiancée was named Lucy, not Ashley, he was puzzled. Lucy, who stayed overnight, overheard this conversation. In the morning, she tried to slip away unnoticed, but Jack called out to her. He wanted to get to know his brother's fiancée better. But Lucy left under the pretext that a cab was waiting for her. The Callahans attended a church service. Jack quietly asked his father about Lucy, wondering why the brother had never mentioned her. She was meanwhile looking through Peter's things that she had picked up from the hospital. Later, she left without knowing that Jack would visit Joe Jr. to inquire about the woman from the 201st apartment. Joe Jr. said that he was dating her. Using Peter's keys, Lucy entered his apartment to feed his cat. Jack followed her. Lucy was frightened because she didn't expect anyone. Jack found her clumsiness and shyness amusing. When the phone rang, Jack picked it up and then handed it to Lucy. It turned out that the call was from the hospital. The doctor asked Peter's relatives to be donors. Jack offered to drive together to the hospital in Peter's car. At first Lucy panicked, but with the help of the keys, she figured out which car belonged to Peter in the parking lot. Jack is still trying to convict Lucy of lying and constantly asks her tricky questions, even in front of his family. Ox asked what was going on. Then Jack revealed that he knew about Lucy's lover, Joe Jr. Lucy denied it, saying that Joe is a pathological liar. But Jack still doesn't believe this woman. Lucy had to share something personal about Peter to finally convince his family that he and she are very close. Returning home, Lucy felt exhausted. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. It was Joe, who resented Lucy's failure to show up for their date. Lucy reminded him that she hadn't promised anything. But Lucy didn't have the chance to kick Joe out of the apartment because Saul arrived. Lucy quickly hid Joe in the closet and opened the door for Saul, who made it clear that he knew the truth because he had overheard her talking to Peter in the hospital. But Saul believes that the family shouldn't know the truth because ever since Lucy arrived, they felt as if Peter was with them. Saul believes that Lucy is genuinely a good person. After saying what he wanted, Saul left. Joe had been sitting in the closet all this time. But Lucy couldn't let him out because Jack arrived shortly after. He wanted to give Lucy an engagement gift, some furniture. Lucy thought it would look better in Peter's apartment. They went there together. Lucy was genuinely touched by this gift. In return, Jack shared that he would like to work with furniture but had to help his father with their joint business. Peter had also been a co-owner of their shared company at one point but eventually left to become a lawyer. They moved the furniture together. The concierge couldn't remember Lucy at all, but Jack said she was his brother's fiancée and could come here anytime. Lucy and Jack started spending more time together. This evening, Jack offered to walk her home. Lucy seemed cute and funny to him, so he wanted to get to know her better. Lucy confessed that her biggest dream is to travel to Florence. Someday, she will fulfill her dream. The way home passed unnoticed. It was very slippery on the streets, so Lucy and Jack had to hold on to each other to avoid falling. Jack wanted to kiss Lucy but refrained, certain that she was his brother's fiancée. In the end, they did fall in the snow. When Lucy entered her home, Joe demanded that she choose between him and that guy. Lucy's answer was obvious. She looked out the window as Jack left and couldn't hold back a smile. The next day, Lucy told Jerry about her complicated situation. She wants to tell the Callahans the truth, but she's afraid they won't forgive her, especially Jack. Meanwhile, Jack visited his brother in the hospital. He talked to him for a long time, hoping to wake him up. Jack confessed to his brother that he had never envied him, but recently, everything had changed. Jack had fallen in love with Lucy and wanted to be with her despite everything. Lucy had dinner at the Callahans' house. Suddenly, the brother's mother asked her to find a nice girl for Jack. Flustered Lucy said she didn't know what type of girls Jack preferred. Embarrassed, Jack said he preferred blondes. All evening Lucy did nothing but stare at Jack. When Lucy was about to leave and said goodbye to the Callahans, she and Jack found themselves under the mistletoe. According to tradition, they kissed. Jack really wanted to see Lucy off, but he understood it would be inappropriate. One day Mary, Peter's sister, and her friend Beth visited Lucy at work. From them, Lucy's colleague Celeste learned that she was getting married. Celeste thought Lucy was pregnant and said so out loud. Ashley left another voicemail for Peter. She was upset that her beloved was not responding. That same evening, Mary announced to the family that Lucy was pregnant. Of course, everyone was shocked. Joe Jr. came to Lucy again and said if she would let him live with her, as his father would lower the rent. After another refusal, Joe was upset. To comfort the guy, Lucy gave him a friendly hug. She didn't know that Jack was watching them. Later, they crossed paths on the street. Lucy didn't expect to see him here. She was going to a friend's party, and Jack offered to give her a ride. Lucy's friends quickly involved Jack in the party, even though he didn't want to. Some assumed that Jack was Lucy's fiancé. When Lucy began to drink alcohol, Jack told her to stop, as it was harmful to her unborn child. Jerry and everyone else who witnessed this were speechless. Lucy left the party. Jack, who realized it was a misunderstanding, followed her. However, instead of apologizing, he asked Lucy directly if she felt something for Joe and what their hug meant. Lucy realized that Jack was jealous. She was even pleased by it. Wishing him a good night, she left. Jack followed her again, saying that he only wanted her to be happy. Lucy in turn advised him to sort out his own life first. She also said that they would never understand each other because, unlike her, Jack doesn't know what it's like to be lonely. On New Year's Eve, Peter woke up from his coma. Upon learning this, Lucy didn't know how to react. In the ward with Peter's family, Lucy dreamed of escaping. Peter, still slightly disoriented, looked at everyone present one by one. Of course, he didn't recognize Lucy. The relatives thought he had amnesia. The doctor confirmed that it was indeed possible. Lucy had no idea how to handle this situation, but Saul assured her that he had everything under control. The family explained to Peter that Lucy was his fiancée. Her face seemed familiar to Peter, but he was sure he didn't plan to marry this woman. When Jack drove Lucy home, they hesitated to speak to each other for a while. Then Lucy told Jack that her life had changed for the better in the week they spent together. However, now everything will be different. It hurt Jack to hear these words. But deep down, he realized that he had acted wrongly by flirting with the brother's fiancée while he was in a coma. Jack finally mustered the courage to have an open conversation with the father and informed him that he wants to start his own furniture business. Jack had always tried to support the father, but now it was time to move on. Ox was puzzled about why the son hadn't told him sooner. Jack didn't expect it to be so simple. Peter remembers all the details of his life before the coma, but when it comes to Lucy, he knows nothing. The godfather told him that Lucy is not only his fiancée but also his guardian angel since she saved him. Saul advised Peter to marry Lucy as soon as possible. In the evening, Lucy visited Peter in his ward and brought his things. Peter was friendlier and asked his pseudo-fiancée to sit down. They talked for the first time. Lucy told Peter that because of him, she used to look forward to every new morning. The chance to see him was a happiness for her. Meanwhile, Ashley Bacon returned from her trip and came to Peter's apartment. But the concierge refused to let her in, saying that Peter's fiancée was not her, but a completely different woman. Later, Jack visited his brother. It hurt him to listen to Peter talking about how amazing Lucy is. Now, Peter wants to start fresh with Lucy, because she is the best woman in the world. Jack left because he couldn't bear to hear this anymore. Lucy was sure that Sol had already told the Callahans the truth, but it turned out he hadn't yet, even though he promised. This greatly upset Lucy, who was tired of lying. She entered the hospital simultaneously with Ashley. At that moment, they still had no idea they were connected in some way. Ashley entered Peter's ward, insulting him and accusing him of cheating. Peter confessed that he didn't remember Lucy but believed that she was his destiny. Ashley didn't believe in Peter's amnesia and left with wounded pride. Shortly after that, Lucy entered Peter's ward. He gave a long speech about how the coma had made him rethink many things. Lucy never expected Peter to propose to her. During this time, Joe started dating a girlfriend. Jack came to Lucy, who was preparing for her upcoming wedding. Joe came to give Lucy a small gift, a glass ball with Florence inside. Before leaving, Jack said that his brother was very lucky. Suddenly Lucy asked Jack if there was anything that would prevent her from marrying Peter. Jack replied that there wasn't, although it was incredibly hard for him. Soon Lucy gave Jerry an invitation to her wedding, which is tomorrow. However, Lucy doesn't look happy at all. Marrying Peter used to be the height of her dreams, but now things have changed. All the guests are already assembled, but the bride hasn't arrived yet. Peter is very nervous. Finally, Lucy arrives. When the priest begins the speech, Lucy says she objects. Jack says the same. Everyone is puzzled. Lucy confesses to the Callahans that she loves their son but not Peter. She also admits that she never knew Peter before and was never his fiancée. All of this is a series of coincidences and misunderstandings. Until this moment, Lucy didn't reveal her lie because she wanted to feel like part of the family. During this time, the Callahans became like family to her. Everyone thinks Lucy saved Peter, but she disagrees. In reality, he saved her. Lucy asks everyone for forgiveness for her lie. Ashley showed up and objected to the marriage because she was engaged to Peter. However, it turns out that Ashley is already married. While everyone was arguing, Lucy discreetly left. At home, she removed decorations from the Christmas tree when suddenly there was a knock on the door. It was Jerry, who came to say that he was sorry her wedding had ended like this. Lucy was genuinely pleased to hear words of support, and she hugged Jerry. But after asking about his new girlfriend, he burst into tears. Now they understand each other like no one else. Lucy is about to quit her job, and today is her last shift. At one point, someone placed a ring in the cash window. Lucy saw the Callahan family in front of her. Jack proposed to her. Then, Lucy's voiceover says that they spent their honeymoon in Florence.